Hello everyone, today we got to play Notre Dame. So this is a Rio Grande game. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are awesome and that is what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Randy, tell us more about Notre Dame.
Well, you say it's a Rio Grande game.
That's what the box says.
This copy is. This is the original from 2007. This game has gone through many iterations, but all of them are part of the Alea series. So this is got a rating currently on Board Game Geek of 7.3 and a rank of 324.
Now, Stefan Feld created this game,
Stefan
right?
Feld.
Stefan Feld.
Yeah. 2 to 5 players, 45 to 75 minutes average play length, age 10 and up, probably about right. Designed by Stefan Feld, as we mentioned. Art is by Farald Liesk, published, in this case, by Rio Grande Games and part of the Alea series. It was re-released in 2017 as a 10th anniversary edition under Ravensburger.
Okay.
And there's been a few other iterations of different publishers, I think mostly outside of the United States. This one is... It has an MSRP of $44.99. It's currently, I guess, out of print, but I found copies of it out there. Well, I found a copy at Amazon, but it's $68.88, which gives me an indication it's out of print. But you can get it on Board Game Geek used for $21. Now, the 10th anniversary edition, I assume it looks like is still in print.
Okay.
And that one has additional components, so I don't know why this one is harder to get other than the fact that it happens to be 10 years older. I mean, not harder to get, but higher priced value. Because the newer one has additional cards and additional promos. And that one you can get on Card House right now for $34.99. And you can find it used on Board Game Geek for $15.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about quality of pieces. You have wooden cubes.
It's very dated.
Different colors. You do have a little carriage.
The carriage is uniquely shaped. Kind of looks like a car.
And then listen, this is supposed to be your friend, but I don't know why it reminds me of like a nun.
That's the same shape that they use in pretty much all the Alea series games for meeples. I mean...
Well, I don't know why it reminds me of a nun. Okay. But maybe it's a guy with a hat. Whatever. Then you have a lot of cardboard chits. We ended up using the poker chip money. I assume they have cardboard money. Mm-hmm. And then the card quality is...
very, very thin.
Very thin linen.
Well, it's not linen. It's got a texture, but it's not a linen finish.
Yeah, it's a very... Anyway. Overall quality... 5.
I'm probably a 4.5. I don't think it's quite even up to the Settlers of Catan standard.
Oh, wow.
It's
that's saying something, guys.
These are very dated pieces. I mean, it feels like early 2000s.
You don't like the standee? The first player standee?
Not particularly, no.
All right, so now let's talk about themes. So this is from the Black Death era, and you're basically trying to mitigate the amount of rats in your city, as well as donating to the church, because obviously being right with God will prevent disease.
And, well, it's got I'm assuming it's supposed to be the Hunchback of Notre Dame, but it's basically the bell puller.
Yeah. So you've got that kind of overarching theme going on, and obviously I think there is some, thematic gameplay in the fact that you're traveling around the city, getting bonuses, and then you're going to certain areas to gain money, to gain workers, to eliminate rats and hospital and things like that. So I think there's a little play there.
Well, you've also got the art of the cards. I think the people are pretty cool. I mean, they look nice.
They are pretty cool.
And they all are thematic to the different characters, but their function is not. I mean, it's just basically a random scoring or a random
Well, the doctor
value.
makes sense.
The doctor makes sense, but most of them, it just gives you an action and it tacks on to a person. There's no correlation.
Yeah, fair enough. But, I mean, there's a little bit there. It's not a lot.
Yeah, very little.
I mean, I'm willing to give this a 6.5.
I'm probably a 5.5. I'll give it 5.5 just because of the fact that there is the story with the background with the rats, and the characters do have nice art.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I had to kind of be twisted to get 6.5. I'm being generous today. All right, so now let's talk about the rules.
So,
You read them.
yes, and
you were able to explain it without having to read verbatim of the rules, which I always appreciate.
Typical Alea fashion. The rules are very nicely done. They have the sidebars, like I always like. It's It's 8 pages long, not real hard. They've got the sidebars as reminders, so if you play it again down the road, you can just read the sidebars and it'll refresh your memory, ideally, and you wouldn't have to reread the whole thing. It's a very quick read. The font is a little small when you do examples, but it's pretty good otherwise. And there's no pictures for the example. Well, I guess there are some pictures for the example, not many.
Yeah.
So you're kind of on your own on those. Given the fact that there are no pictures or very few pictures, I'll probably give it an 8. I would typically give an Alea book about a 9. This one I think is not quite as good, but it does have a nice cheat sheet for all the cards. So there's a 1-pager that talks about all the cards in the game. So, or at least all the bonus cards, not all the player cards, but they're on the book and they're fairly self-explanatory.
All right, so now let's talk about gameplay. So the gameplay is that you have your deck of colors, and you have this deck. Oh.
You have 9 cards in your deck.
You have 9 cards on your deck. You're going to shuffle them very, very, very well. You're going to take how many ever players there are?
No, it's always going to be 3.
Oh, it's always going to be 3. Okay, so then you look at the 3 that you have. You don't want to show anyone else. You're going to draft one of them. I'm going to pick this one, and then I'm going to pass it around. And everyone does that until you get 3 cards. When you get 3 cards, you're going to look at them, and the first player obviously plays 1 card. Now, the thing about the cards is that some of the resource involvement, you'll need money, you may need victory points, you may need cubes. So cubes are going to actually be pretty important in this game. So
you start the game with 4 in your supply, and then there's the rest of your cubes. 10 of them are in the general supply.
And so through the different cards that you have, we'll go through them. One is the hospital card, so basically you get to destroy a rat, and that you... Hey!
Take him out, starting a game over there.
Whatever, you just wanted to see my board empty.
Those are not supposed to be there.
Alright, so anyway, I will be putting my little meeple on there. I will move the mice down 1 if I wanted, if I had mice that have accumulated in my city, or my district, I should say. And then
the hospital also will be basically a preventative for any future rat.
Yeah, because right now the 3 different people are up, 2 mice are shown, so you're going to accumulate 2 mice, which would be down to 1 now because I have the hospital.
Are they rats or mice?
Mm-hmm.
They're rats.
They are rodents.
They are rodents.
The rodents. All right, then one of the other cards is that you can go to the red building, I don't know, whatever, this district over here. Basically, you're allowed to pick 1. You either get a cube, money, or you get to kill a rat. When you get 4 tokens on there, you get to do it twice. Not as advantageous as some of the other places, but you get options. So if so at least... you get to choose what you kind of need.
You only get 1, but if you accumulate 4 cubes on there, then you will get 2 of those options.
But so...
But it's still great. It's probably the lamest of the spaces.
Yeah, but it gives you a little flexibility if you're just don't know what you're doing. All right, then the next one is victory points. For every cube that you have on this area, you get additional 1. So I may start out with 1, but if I were to put a second, then I get 2 victory points. Like this game, at the end, I got 7 victory points for placing one of my last cubes there. Considering you only have 10, that was pretty much all. That was all my cubes were on that one. People kept giving them to me, and I'm like, well, that's worth a lot of victory points, so I might as well. All right, the next one is the park. So the park, it kills another rodent. And then also, but for every, so if you have 2 there, no more than 2, more than 2, it doesn't really matter. But if you have 2, you get a +1 for victory point every time you get a victory point.
And for every 2 you have there, you get a bonus victory
That's
point.
A little broken.
Yeah, you could get a bunch of cubes there and accumulate and get lots of extra bonus points.
Well, I did something wrong in my life. Okay, so anyway, that's actually why I think these guys won against me, because even though I was getting bukus of points, they were just getting 1 every time they did stuff, and that ended up being accumulated to quite a bit. So this one, you might want to keep this one. All right, and then the next one is actually donating to the cathedral. You can donate 1, 2, or 3 money to the cathedral. I did this and ran out of money, and I was super sad because I couldn't do anything in the last 2 actions. Anyway, I was mopey about it. But anyway, so you can donate in one of those, and depending on what you donate, you get either 1, 3, or 6 victory points. So that can actually be a lot of victory points in this game.
And at the end of the round, after you play through all 3 phases of the game, there's 3 rounds, 3 phases in a round, and you play through 3 rounds. And at each round end, you're going to evaluate who's got the most or how many cubes are there, and whatever the victory point count is divided amongst all the cubes. So you get to score twice on that space, because you score when you place it, and then you score at the end of the round. And
so it can be very, very powerful.
Yeah, for 3 players, it was 8 victory points that you divvied up, and we never had more than 2 cubes there, so it was always 4 victory point bonus that you got.
So it ended up being pretty cool. All right, the next thing up is you get more blocks. So again, it's the same thing as the victory points. So if I have 2 here, I'm placing a 3rd one, I'll be able to take 3 cubes from the supply and put it in my main pile. The last one is this. I'm missing a card because I'm missing the coach.
It's right here. 2 more.
2 more. All right. So this one right here it's placing this special worker. So when you place this worker, again, you don't have to have a cube for this one, so that actually saved me more than once. You could put this around anywhere that you want, and it acts, you trigger the space, and it acts as a +1. So basically, it's like a cube, but it can go anywhere when you play the card, and you'll eventually move it around. So it's not like a permanent cube there. So, and then obviously there's another one for money. So again, it's the same thing as like the victory points and the cubes. How many ever you have there, that's how many coins you get. And then the last one is a little bit of coach. I actually never got to use the coach. So Randy, if you want to explain the coach action.
So whenever you do the coach, you're going to take one of your cubes and play it on the coach space. And however many cubes, that's how many spaces you get to move. And you move from one intersection to another. And there are these tokens in each intersection in the region that give victory points and or bonus items. So each sector is owned by a player. So Miranda had purple, of course, and I had blue, of course. So, and then your dad had red. So if you wanted to get a victory point bonus, you could go over to the blue sector, moving 1, and you would claim this, and it gives you a victory point and a coin. Now, the thing is with moving, you can only claim different colors until you have a full set of all colors. So if you get the blue first, you can't get another blue. You have to move into the purple or the red sector to get one of those. And once you have all 3, then you can take any color again and do another set. Now, the only exception to that rule is if somebody's claimed the last one of a color, then you can't possibly get it, so you can ignore that rule for that color.
When you'll end up drafting 3 cards, but you'll only play 2 for the round, okay? So when you play 2, then you discard the 3rd one. You want to hide the 3rd one so people don't know what you've discarded. And then you have the opportunity to spend 1 coin and trigger one of the people that are available. Now, the powers range from getting cubes to getting victory points, from special abilities, from moving 1 cube to another and activating, or so there's a bunch of different things that come up in these different cards. One allows you to ignore all the mice. So you get that opportunity. You spend a coin, you do the thing. And then you count how many. So for example, in this particular case, I have 2 mice that are on these 3 cards. So I have 1 in the hospital, so I only take 1 mice and that goes up. Now, if for perchance that you end up at 9 and you get a +1, right? So something bad happens because the rats have taken over your city. So you're going to end up losing 2 victory points. You're going to hand that back into the bank. And then you are going to, so in this case, this one, it has the most tokens on the board. I'm going to take 1 and put it back in my
in the
general supply, not my personal supply. Okay, so you lose that because basically the rats killed the worker. Okay, killed the disease, killed the worker. So that is it, and that can actually be pretty powerful because depending on where it's taking from, it's slowing your build down a little bit, maybe. So overall, that happened to me once. It didn't happen to either one of you guys. I just they took all the kill the rat things.
You know, I started the game out with a lucky draw where I ended up getting 2 of the rats for the hospital, or the 2 hospitals right away. And then eventually I got the 3rd one. So I basically, it was, in general, you're averaging about 3 rats a round, give or take. Depends on the cards you get. We had one round, we got 7. But you know, in general, you're getting about 3 average. So I was net neutraling on the rats each time.
Yeah, well, I don't want to talk about it because you were taking all the good stuff. So shame on you. And I didn't know what I was doing. So, because I passed up 1 because not realizing how important it was going to be because I couldn't kill a rat at the time. But no matter what, I should have played it. I should have been like, yeah, screw it, I'm playing it. All right, but overall, I think this was, pretty interesting. It was okay. It was
a lot lighter than I expected for a felt game. It was very light.
But it was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, it felt dated. It definitely felt dated. But as far as the gameplay, it was unique. I mean, it was a very simplistic drafting game, but then it did have some nice function. I like the way the rats worked
well, I like the being able to, if you focused on one thing, they became more powerful. Like, you became better at doing it. But that's really the only thing that kind of drew me to this game.
Yeah.
I think other games do it better.
Well, that's the thing. I think if for its time, it might have been very good, but it feels very dated now compared to a lot of the newer games. Now, obviously, it's still loved. It's got a rank of 324 after, 15 years. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's solid gameplay.
Yeah.
It was a little...
Yeah, I mean, I didn't find it very engaging. Not especially we played Boon Lake recently. We played Bitoku. Much more involved games. Granted, this is a totally different level of complexity compared to those. This is, a much easier to get to the table
I think
game.
this was an okay game.
Yeah.
Like, if someone's like, hey, I want to play this, I'll be like,
yeah,
sure. I mean, I'm not going to avoid it.
No.
But I don't think I'm going to seek it out either.
No, it's all right. I'm about 6, probably 6.5.
I'm okay with that score. Because it was good. It was solid. Like, if you're like, oh, critiquing wise, I mean, it's fine. I just didn't enjoy it as some of the other games that we played recently. Well, guys, we had an absolute blast tonight, and hopefully you guys did too. I would love for you guys to come join us again. We really enjoy sharing our board games with you. Catch you guys later.
Bye.